Yeah! We're back. Don't mess with Jim. It's semi-final week. As we know, you can see by the surroundings, we're back at the Wolfpack Bar. Hell of a place.
The centre of the World Cup in London.
Centre of the World Cup in London. We are North London, and it's semi-final week. I can't believe how quick it's gone.
Neither.
We are here, semi-final week. It has flown by. What have I done this week? I've had a good week this week. Yeah, I've had a great week. It all started last Friday. Went on a 50-mile bike ride as part of a group of guys cycling under the name of Pedal the Premiership. So they're doing good things. They're raising awareness, also raising a bit of money for mental health and Restart Rugby. So I did 50 miles, second leg of day 4, from somewhere in Swindon to somewhere in Reading. Done a bit of cycling, Rob?
I have, actually. Yeah, I've done a few triathlons back in the day.
Oh, here he is, topper. Yeah. Not just cycling, he's done triathlons as well. Yeah. But it's good. It was good to get out on the bike. And as I said, they're raising awareness for mental health, which is, as we know, hot topic, if that's the right way to say. We all have down days. We all have down days. We all have days where we're not feeling great and we're feeling down. And today I'm feeling all right. Yesterday I was a bit down. Just was. Don't know why.
Just one of them days.
Just one of those days, exactly. So big shout out to the guys at Pedal the Premiership, raising awareness. They did 5-6 days. They started in Sale and they finished somewhere in Wasps, having done a loop round Exeter to Gloucester, Leicester, Wasps, Northampton, Surrey. They did a lot. So big shout out to them. But I've been training, I mentioned. So not just cycling, been doing a bit of training, feeling good. Thyroid settled down, regulated, and can you tell?
Well, I was going to ask, what are you benching?
Yeah,
Surely the numbers are going up.
The numbers are going up. So my fighting weight when I played was 125 kgs. I played at 135 10 years ago. It was a bit old school, a bit muddy, a bit dark, get away with a lot of stuff. I'm sitting about 118 now. And as you questioned me earlier, there's talks of me coming back, coming out of retirement. I'm ready. Nearly. Still doing a bit of training. 118, ran last night. Achilles is a bit tight, but I'm there. In the wings, if you need me. Sarries ideally. Ideally Sarries. But anyone else I'll think about and I'll look at it.
Sarries are missing most of their squad over in Japan right now.
Very true. Maro and George Cruz, the second rows in my position, but they do have Will Skelton and Nick Ezekwe and Joel Kipoku and Callum Hunter-Hill. Anyway, I'm there if they need me to train. But it's not about me. It's about semi-final week. It is here. Where do we start?
Whew.
We've got to go England-New Zealand, haven't we?
First game of the weekend.
England-New Zealand on Saturday. And a lot of people predicted this to be the semi-final, or they probably predicted both semi-finals, but predicted the way the lay of the lands, both teams topping their pool, would eventually find themselves in a semi-final. The two best teams in the world currently, England versus the All Blacks on Saturday. It's going to be absolutely epic. I mean, arguably the winner out of this, you're thinking, will go on to win the World Cup.
Pretty much, yeah.
The build-up, as always, with Eddie Jones has been very interesting. The press conferences. First claimed there was a spy up in the apartment building in Japan spying on the England team. I'm not too sure about that.
Nah, I don't think anyone believes it was an actual spy, but people still love the story.
Hey, takes the shine off the team, which is actually, I'm beginning to like Eddie Jones, actually. I'm actually beginning to like what he's doing. He's a smart man.
What did you not like before?
I just didn't like some of the idiotic things he said. He said a couple during the World Cup. He said that basically something to do with terrorism around the typhoon. So he still said some stupid stuff, but I'm actually realising some of the stuff that he's doing. You see in the England press conference, he said, put your hands up, anyone who thinks we can beat New Zealand.
Not even Owen Farrell or John Mitchell.
Not even Owen Farrell or John Mitchell put their hand up. Not even Eddie Jones. He didn't even put his hand up. I thought that was quite funny. So he's taken the press conference by storm. But I think he's confident. Until, well, I was confident that England definitely had a chance until he's thrown another spanner in the works, hasn't he? He's picked George Ford at 10. Who saw that coming? And we didn't get to see the England-France game to what he would have done going into the Australia game. Obviously, he picked Farrell at 10 against Australia last week, Tuolangi at 12, Henry Slade at 13. Most people would agree that that is England's strongest team, me included. All right? The reason why I think that that's the best combination is defensively. And George Ford is a fantastic player. He's had a brilliant World Cup. He's got man of the match on a couple of occasions. He's captained the team. And he's taken a lot of shit. People questioning he shouldn't be there, Cipriani should. That's gone now. For me, George Ford warrants his place in that squad. And there was a lot of talk last week in the Australia game where Eddie Jones in the press conference again was laughing and saying George Ford has a different role off the bench. He's not been dropped or is not looked at like that. He's just performing a different role. And I thought that was it. I thought it was going to be Farrell, Tuolangi, Slade. Slade was brilliant in the game against Australia, put 40-odd points. Then he goes and picks Ford this week and drops Slade to the bench. I don't know. I'm trying to work out why he's doing that. Does he think that New Zealand with Anton Leonard-Brown and Jack Goodhue offer a different picture to Pataya and Karevi? Less physicality? Potentially. New Zealand play a wider game. You know, that's the only reason that I can see why they pick Ford at 10. Do they think the threats are out wide? Move Tuolangi one out in terms of making yards through a Goodhue? Apart from that, I literally cannot understand why he would move Farrell back to 12. Henry Slade carrying an injury. I don't know. High pressure. And they've spoken about it. Eddie Jones has spoken about the pressure that the All Blacks are under in terms of the pressures following them down the street. But I actually quite like Steve Hanson's reply. He said, no, the pressure's following you, Eddie Jones, because 4 years ago, England didn't make it out of their pool. They like each other, apparently, Steve Hanson and Eddie Jones. Heard an interview.
Sitting having a beer together.
Of course, they've mentioned that after the game. They've been WhatsApping. Do they WhatsApp or text? Do they call? I don't know. Email, probably.
Snapchat.
Who knows? So I can't understand it. I really can't. But Eddie Jones is his own man. Every decision up until now, I know they had a dip, but England have been very good under Eddie Jones. They've been brilliant. They looked unbeatable last week against Australia, although Australia didn't put up a fight. And when you've got Manu Tuolangi in your team, now he did an interview this week and he was talking about facing the All Blacks and how when he lived back in Samoa when he was a young kid that he watched the World Cups, he watched the All Blacks, watched the Super 12, and he obviously naturally mentioned Jonah Lomu was an inspiration to him growing up, that no one will come close to Jonah Lomu. Well, if there's anyone going to come close, it's Manu Tuolangi. With him in your team, England can do anything. And Manu's spoken about how he idolised Jonah as a young lad growing up. Manu, I don't want to say he's on the same level. The game's very different now. Jonah Lomu changed the face of the game. But he obviously speaks about his respect for the All Blacks. And this is going to be an absolute classic. It's going to be brilliant. And then you look at the All Blacks, right? So you're thinking, the All Blacks against Ireland, that's the best performance I've seen in the World Cup. It's the best of the World Cup this year. It's the best performance I've seen from the All Blacks in a long time. A complete performance. It's the best I've seen Kieran Reid play. The balance of the back row. Ireland didn't stand a chance. Even if Ireland were at their very best, I don't think they would have beaten the All Blacks on Saturday. So you're thinking they're going to go the same again? No. They've moved. They've not dropped. We can't say dropped to the bench. It's a 23-man squad who's going to win the game. They've moved Sam Cane to the bench and they've put Scott Barrett in at 6. So it's not as crazy, I don't think, as putting Ford in at 10. But we were doing a bit of digging, weren't we?
Surely with that dynamic, you'd worry. So when I first heard that, I thought Underhill and Curry are just going to absolutely ravage them. So I remember it must have been 2 years ago, South Africa put one of their second rows at flanker, and England just ruined them round the fringes.
Yeah.
So I was clueless as to why they'd put Scott Barrett at flanker.
Yeah.
You seem to know why.
Well, I seem to think I know why. So last time England played New Zealand last year, the All Blacks won by 1 point. And they dominated England in the line-out in that game, which is a little bit unheard of from New Zealand. So New Zealand's line-out is notoriously a thing that they use but don't see it as a real importance. Last time they played England, they dominated the line-out. Scott Barrett, on the other hand, has never started at 6, but he's come on about 8 times, did a bit of digging, so he has played 6 before, and I think they want to take England on up front, or they want to match them up front. England are so powerful up there. You've got Courtney Lawes, you've got Maro Itoje, you've got Vunipola. We know they've got Curry and Underhill in terms of over the ball. Sinclair's running a mock at the minute. He's outstanding. So I think by putting someone like Scott Barrett in there, he's a good mauler. I've seen him. He's good in the line now. It might give New Zealand a bit of parity, if that's what you want to say. And it will be parity up front because England's forwards are world class. And the fact that they've maybe seen the line out with George Cruz on the bench could be a way that they could get into the game. But it's interesting because Steve Hansen doesn't normally, or the All Blacks notoriously don't normally think or counteract on what the opposition do. They normally just pick a team that they think is going to win, that's going to dominate. Sam Cane's going to come on and he's going to be exceptional. He's good over ball. You spoke about Underhill and Curry there. They have been astonishingly good. They've been so good. Spoken about it before. Their tackle technique. I don't know who got man of the match last week. I think it was Tom Curry, but I mean, you could have given it to Underhill as well. Their tackle technique, for any boys and girls wanting to play the game of rugby, that is how you tackle. Naturally they tackle that way, but they obviously work very hard in that area. The physicality, New Zealand going to be up against it. Prediction. What do you think?
26-21 to England.
26-21 to England?
Yeah.
Wowzers.
I've been a bit of a geek. I've made a team sheet of the England team that I thought it was going to be, and not to brag, I was bang on. I thought Wilson would come in for Ludlam. I thought Laws would start ahead of Cruz. And I've listed the people I think that could get a drop goal, and Carl Sinclair is one of them.
Could get a drop goal? Right, we can't take him seriously. Carl Sinclair ain't going to get a drop goal.
I think he might attempt it.
No way. What do you know?
I just know that, he used to play 10 back in the day.
And Matt, if Carl Sinclair does a drop goal in the biggest game of his life, I'll eat this hat. I'll eat it raw. No chance. But you're right.
That's why I think they've put Ford in there. I reckon they're going to pull out this wild card that no one's really used yet, which is go for drop goals.
There you have it. You blow my mind. Maybe you're right. Maybe you're right. I mean, I'm looking at the games that they've played. England have only won 1 out of the last 16 against the All Blacks. I can't believe that stat. I can't even believe it's true. It's what Wikipedia says. If any team can beat New Zealand, it's England. I can't see it. I really can't. Eddie Jones made a massive call with Ford at 10. You're right about the drop goals. They might go down that route. That's a really, really interesting call. But New Zealand by 6. I'd love to see England. I'd love to see England-Wales final. Love to see it. So I'm going to go New Zealand. I'm going to go the All Blacks by 6. And I'm hoping that this game is all done and dusted and the outcome is all to do with the rugby and we don't see a red card and we don't see something ridiculous like that. I'm going the All Blacks by 6, but genuinely I would like to see England win. I've got a lot of friends, I call them friends, they probably don't call me friends, in that England team. I'd like to see the next generation of players inspire a nation. We saw what it did in 2003 and we're living in England now. My kids are getting into rugby and I think by having this next generation of England players, and they have done, by them getting to the semis, they've done that already. So the other semi-final, Wales, South Africa, I think that's on a Sunday, is it? Yeah, so it's a Sunday morning. Yeah, of course it is. I got a few pelters last week. So Don't Mess with Your Mount, and then put it on YouTube, and then you try and interact with some of the comments. I'm getting trolled to the cowsheds and back. People ain't happy. Now, I think the people that weren't happy were the people in Wales, because I thought France were going to beat them and beat them comfortably. France were my wild card before the World Cup started, and for large parts of it, they looked very good until, as we know, there was a very high-profile, uncontroversial red card, and Sebastian Vaha-Mahina got sent off for elbowing Aaron Wainwright, and that was it. But still, France still could have won. They put 7 in the scrum on their own try line. What are you thinking? Maydar kicks the ball out there. They don't go for a drop goal. France still should have won that game, even with 14 men. Now, that shows you, I think, reluctantly to say, that I don't think Wales are going to beat South Africa. Gatland said the best team lost last week. I believe that. Wales, and I'll come on to some positives about Wales, but Wales, apart from the Australia game for 60 minutes, looked very good. They could have got beat by Fiji. They got absolutely hosed. Uruguay, they struggled, and they shouldn't have beaten France at the weekend, but they did. Now, this is the thing with Wales. The resilience that they can show, and they have, and what Gatland does. Gatland is a phenomenal coach. You know, look what he's done for Wales. You know, look what he did for the British and Irish Lions when everyone said they were going to get beat 3-0 down in New Zealand. The pressure he was under going home to New Zealand and coming out with a draw, and arguably could have taken the series. And look what he's done with Wales. When they're dead and buried, they ain't. They ain't dead and buried. They've just got something inside them that no other team has, I don't think. A resilience, a kind of edge to them that says we ain't lying down. Now, the way that they beat France at the weekend shows that, but they are up against a formidable team in South Africa who haven't really had much of a tough game since the first game against New Zealand. They have had tough games. They had a tough game against Japan, but in terms of their quality, they've not been tested yet. And no disrespect to Japan, how good were they, by the way, in the World Cup? It was amazing to see, and up until half-time, it looked scary. It was a nervous half-time team talk, as Rassie Erasmus said, but they've just, in my opinion, got too much physicality. You know, the news out of South Africa, as we know, team's been announced, is that Cheslin Colby is not going to be fit, and my Pimpy on the wing has been probably just slightly shaded them two. My Pimpy's been amazing. Cheslin Colby, as we know, is a world-class player, and Sabusio Nkosi comes in. I think I've pronounced his first name right. Nkosi comes in to replace him. You know, that's a big thing, because Cheslin Colby has been a star of the World Cup with my Pimpy, with Matsushima on the wing for Japan. But I just think with Faf de Klerk, he got man of the match at the weekend. You know, Peter Steph de Toy, Etzebeth, Yegdelude, Mbambi, hooker with Malcolm Marks to come on. I mean, the beast, you know, arguably should have been sent off last week, but he didn't. Delande in the centre, you know, I think if South Africa do have a weakness, it's potentially at 15 with Willie LaRue, who's not playing that well. But I just can't see the physicality that South Africa got and how difficult it's been in this World Cup for Wales to get where they've got to. I'd be gobsmacked if Wales lost, if Wales beat South Africa and South Africa lost. Yeah. What do you reckon?
So I want to call you out or bring back something that you said on the pod, which I don't think has yet happened, where you said Wales have at least one big game in them, which I suppose they had a big game against Australia, but I don't think they fully, you know, hit their top level, which I reckon they could pull out the bag for this weekend. Yeah,
you're true. I think we've spoken about on the podcast that I do with Andy Good, and that Wales have a big performance. You mentioned it. I just don't know. I think you said, I think the Australia game was their big performance. And again, I know the people in Wales are hating on me. I've read it. You've been trolling me. I think you're from Wales anyway. Send me location. I just think it's too. I just think they're done. Yeah. And they've been fantastic. They've been amazing. And I would love to see an England-Wales final. I'd love to see it. I just think that it's one step too far. It really is. You know, Jonathan Davis will make a big difference if he's fit. The Wales team hasn't been announced yet. We mentioned the South Africa one then. I think it's going to be comfortable for South Africa.
Yeah, I do.
I really do. South Africa by... I've said 8 earlier in the week. I did say 10. I'm going to go South Africa by 10. Yeah. But please, Wales, I want to see you do it. I did pick South Africa as the team to win the World Cup at the start. That's who I thought would win it. I'm a little bit unsure now with how good New Zealand have been and how good England have been. But 2 unbelievable semi-finals. Unfortunately, I'm going with the narrative. I'm going with New Zealand, South Africa in the final, which everyone thought about in the lead-up. I'll reiterate, I would love to see England. I'd love to see Wales in the final. But it's going to be absolutely epic. Right, social media. As we know, there's loads on social media. The trolling of Scotland has now stopped. They were getting absolutely buried left, right and centre. I even trolled them a little bit saying they're on a flight home with Uruguay. That didn't go down too well with my partner in crime, John Barkley. But facts are facts. Scotland went home when Uruguay went home. So I've been not trolling, you can't say trolling, I've been going through the social media and there's loads. Have you seen anything? You're big into your social media?
The knives are out, especially down under.
The knives are out?
The knives are out. Quade Cooper, a familiar name in the world of rugby, is I hadn't heard anything from him, but seems he's quite bitter about not being in the squad.
Yes.
And he's come out and basically said that Quade Cooper, if he truly loved Australian rugby, would have walked a long time ago.
Quade Cooper says to Michael Checker, if he cared about Australian rugby, he would have walked sooner. I saw it, and I interacted with it, and I put a GIF up, one that was like, because I couldn't believe that he'd done it. You know, I get that there's obviously beef there, there's history, and I've done a little bit of stuff on a bit of research on Michael Checker this week, seeing how the fallout has, because as we know, he's now resigned as head coach of Australia. And then you look at the fallout of the Quade Cooper Checker situation, but then you look at the tweets of Gitto, and you look at the tweets of Drew Mitchell and other players in the team. I think, was it Karevi or Coram Betty? There was one where he said, you know, thank you for giving me the opportunity. There's a lot of good coming out about Michael Checker, you know, and again, we've spoken about before, he didn't need the money. He's a very wealthy guy. He's done it for the love. He did a big interview that I saw where he said that he's loved it. He's not felt the pressure. It's not an emotional attachment. He just wants to grow rugby in Australia from grassroots level, boys and girls, and he wants Australia to be the best that they can be. You know, I don't think the game plan that he had at the weekend was right, but I like him. I have to say it. I like Michael Checker. Quade Cooper clearly doesn't. So, you know, it is a little bit old news now because Checker's now gone and there's a few issues in Australian rugby. You know, the franchises there, it's awful. The growth of the game, I got a mate in Australia who watched it in a bar. He said no one was interested, which is bizarre because Australia is so good at the World Cups, so good at rugby. But yeah, they've got, you know, the whole Israel-Folau situation. They've got a lot of catching up to do. And unfortunately, with Checker gone now, I don't know who's going to take the reins. But Quade Cooper, I don't know, mate. Probably looks bad on you, mate, what you've said. But there you go. That's the world that we live in, social media. Anything else?
Well, there's the big one, the Piper photo, the elbow.
The Yakko Piper. Didn't mention it. Should have mentioned it. So Yakko Piper posing with fans, doing the elbow with a big grin on his face. So when I saw the picture, I think it was in the morning when I got up, I saw it. My first thing is I laughed. And then there was a little bit of me that was like, oh, can you do that? Now, I'm only doing that because the day and the age that we live in, and we know everything's trial by social media, everything now, you don't know what you can say, what you can't say. You have to be so careful. Me personally, I thought it was funny. But is that a good or a bad thing, that I thought it was funny?
I had the exact same reaction. Thought it was funny and then kind of went, ooh. And then I thought maybe Jacko Piper was on the piss because he knew he wasn't going to be reffing the next few rounds and he thought, I'm going to enjoy my final night in Japan.
Maybe. Yeah, maybe he was out on his final night because he's not been picked for the semis and I can't see him being picked for the final. But I don't know whether they've dropped him for the semis or they've kind of just not picked him anyway, that was the case, like you said. I don't know. But look, you can't do it. Like you unfortunately, you can't. You know, the Sebastian Vahamino red card was the most blatant red card you'll ever see. But there's been fallout of that. Obviously, you know, France are out of the World Cup. He's retired from international rugby, as you know, Guillaume Gallardo, Louis Picamoles. You know, and there's probably a few more that are going to retire as well. So it's a bit of just straight after a game to do it. Thought it was brilliant, as in, you know, the fact that he's having a photo with fans. But you just can't do it. I wish you could, but you just can't. So that's been flying around the social media. That's gone viral. And Yakko Piper, I mean, looked happy. Do you know what I mean? So either way, he's going down in a blaze of glory because he looked happy. What else have I seen? I mean, there's loads that has obviously come out. There's one that in particular that I like that I saw on Rugby Lad, and there was loads of different platforms that showed it. But Chris Leilefana, the 10 who played for Australia, there was a moment, an interaction with his son. Loved it. You know, his story to have come from where he's come from and get through leukemia and, you know, to survive, let alone to play in a quarter-final of a World Cup with your family watching. So that brought a tear to my eye. I've seen it everywhere. I don't know what Lele Fano will do now, whether he'll carry on international rugby or he's reached, his goal from where he was, what he's been through with his illness. But Rugby Lad, I saw that on there and I loved it. But that could be the social media post of the week, but it's not. Guinness. Did you see what Guinness posted?
I saw the image, but I didn't know if it was actually from Guinness.
Yeah, so Guinness posted on Instagram and Twitter, quote, "Have a pint of Carlsberg. We are officially done with the colour black today." Absolutely genius. I mean, how good is that?
That is top draw.
Your competitor, it doesn't matter. Your competitor, Carlsberg, is green, I think. Guinness, black. Ireland obviously got absolutely humperdinked against the All Blacks. They were done with black, and smart bit of marketing. I think that went viral. Might have even given it a double tap and gave it a like. So my social media post of the week goes to Guinness, who are entwined with rugby. They are synonymous with the game. But you're right, Guinness are black, the All Blacks are black, and the All Blacks completely halted Ireland's chances, albeit Ireland didn't have much of a chance, really, I feel bad in saying that, of progressing any further. So social media post of the week goes to Guinness. I know you're a Sale fan, so we're going to talk a little bit about the Prem.
Yeah.
We'll just finish on that. I think I had Sale in my top 4.
I hope you do.
What do you reckon as a Sale fan?
Well,
they lost to Gloucester at the weekend.
Yeah, it was a slow game for Sale, but a lot of the team were missing, whereas Gloucester don't have that many players on international duty.
Who was missing for Sale? Paf de Klerk?
Paf de Klerk, Lou de Jager.
Yeah, Luigi. Yeah, but he weren't there to start with. But yeah.
It's the same season. Tom Curry, Mark Wilson.
Very true, very true.
AJ McGinty.
Very true.
Who else?
That's enough. That's enough. You've convinced me now why Sale lost. Sale looked very good this year. I did commentary for BT Sport for the Northampton-Sarries game, Sarries-Northampton game. Sarries didn't look good. No. Unfortunately, no, they didn't, which was a shame, really, because even with their stars missing in a World Cup period, and Northampton have got guys missing as well. Courtney Laws, Lewis Ludlam, who else got? Dan Bigger, obviously at 10, is missing. Any other big names? I'm right in saying Franks, is he there anymore? Hartley's obviously injured. So, yeah, anyway, Northampton missing a few. Northampton were brilliant. They got Grayson got a penalty at the end. TT Lamasatelli for not rolling away at the breakdown. I mean, it was a big ask for him anyway, to back up having played all the games he did for the USA. But anyway, Northampton won. I didn't have them in my top 4. My top 4 was Saracens, Gloucester, 1 and 2. Might be different. I just don't know where Saracens are going to go with all their stars. I didn't pick Exeter originally, but then I changed my mind. And Sale, or Quins, or Bristol, or Northampton. Hard one to call.
I think in a World Cup year, early starts of the season, the early part of the season, you can't really read too much into it.
It is, yeah. Bath look awful, unfortunately. They look really poor. Bristol were very good, as we saw. Quins nearly beat Exeter at Sandy Park. But like you said, it's a hard one to call. This week, Leicester got beat by Worcester, their bogey team, the Bogey Monsters. Leicester had such a good pre-season. But they've got Sarries on Sunday. I'm commentating for that game as well as the Gloucester Wasps game. Wasps lost against London Irish. I can't see Wasps doing it. They've got Fekatoa. Sopawanga, can he manage a game? They've lost Nathan Hughes. Any kind of go forward that they kind of had or kind of wanted?
I can see him going down this year.
Really?
Yeah. You
can see what's going down?
Yeah. They're one of those teams where they haven't got much foundation, but they've got those random star players.
Yeah.
Teams that have that kind of combination tend to...
Very true. Well, if Carl Sinclair does a drop goal and Wasps go down, you have got a job for life. You're an absolute genius. So, yeah, the Gallagher Premiership is upon us. It is in the shadows of the World Cup. It's semi-final week. We're at the Wolfpack Bar. What does your hat say?
It says blood, sweat and beers.
Oh, blood, sweat and beers. I thought I had the thirsty one. It says blood, sweat and beers. The Wolfpack logo. We're here. Rob's behind the camera. Come on, England. Come on, Wales. Likely to be New Zealand, South Africa final. Hope you enjoy. See you in a bit.